Oh hi, Dave Rome here. If you're hearing this, then you're on the free feed of the Escape Collective podcast network. We're happy you're here, and we'll continue to give plenty of expert opinion and analysis away for free. But really, our best stuff is saved for members of Escape Collective. After all, with no advertising or affiliate links, it's our members who make this all possible. From in-depth interviews with leading experts, to class-leading reviews, through to unique things like my threaded series for anyone spinning spanners of any level. That's the sort of content you'll get by becoming a member. And as an added bonus, you won't have to listen to ads like this again. Head to escapecollective.com/join to sign up.
Welcome back to the Spin Cycle Podcast, everybody. I'm Caley Fretz, joined today by Kit Nicholson. Welcome.
Oh, that's very cheery.
Singing.
Very cheery. It's Monday morning. And Johnny Long, welcome to the show.
Hello. I'm equally ecstatic, but I won't sing.
And it's nearly 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Now, so.
And I had a massive lunch. Don't know why.
Today on the show, Aussie Nationals Peter Sagan is dancing, and a return, because we missed it so, to Pidcock Paddock. Let's get to it.
Yes.
All right, you two. Should we kick off with Aussie Nats?
Let's.
Yeah, sure.
Who are our favorite Australian national champions?
Favorite in terms of...
I'm a big Brodie Chapman fan.
Yeah,
Chapman fan.
Definitely.
Yep. Won the time trial.
Mine is probably the same as Luke Durbridge in that it's Luke Plapp. Because maybe without Luke Plapp, Luke Durbridge wouldn't be our new men's national champion.
And without Luke Durbridge, Luke Plapp might have broken the record and been a 4-time in a row national champion. But the young whippersnapper basically got himself in credit for the season ahead for when Durbridge goes over and plays domestique. You know?
So what happened was...
He did say that in the interview.
What happened was for this year, the Australian National Championships moved to Perth when they're normally somewhere else. I can't remember where. It was a name I hadn't heard of before. Yeah, where is that? Do we know? Not Perth.
No, not Perth. I think it's the other. It's the other side of Australia. We should find this out.
Perth is on its own. Our friend Zach Williams, the photographer's from there. What's it? Jai Hindley's from there. Apparently, it's a great part of the world. And Luke Durbridge is from there, crucially. So he was racing in front of local crowds. He hit the breakaway early doors, sort of distanced his breakaway companions. Then his Jayco Alula team were back in the bunch, sort of neutering all the attacks until Luke Durbridge was tiring, getting drawn back in over like the last 15k, at which point Luke Plapp bursts out the bunch, catches up to Durbridge, basically tows him to the finish line and then lets him go and take the victory. And you can tell by the fact that we're doing breakdowns on national championships that we are so ready for racing to come back. But it was that's an interesting like little potted race to kick off the season with. No?
So on the spectrum from Belgian national championships, which is like chaos and lots of riders and different teams, to like we'll say Slovenian national championships, where there's basically like one dude who could win or he could let somebody else win.
Yeah.
Where does Australia stand? Because the whole Jayco team is there. They're relatively dominant. They've won a lot of these things. I mean, like you said, Luke Plapp could have gone for 4 this time. Where's Aussie Nat stand on this?
Luke
spectrum?
Plapp was on Team Sky for 2 of those years that he won.
True. Which would put it in not the full Slovenian or like like Peter Sagan era, right? Where like he would just give it to his brother sometimes.
But now they've gone almost full Slovenian because it's basically Jayco Alula's championship to give away.
Right.
Because it's like Group Alma FDG at the French national championships. I would also,
but there you got like Alaphilippe and stuff, trying to mess things up.
That's true.
So
yeah, this is a whole different. Yeah, this is as close as you get. But yeah, I mean, gifting a national championship, I feel, is the most acceptable, like the highest level of acceptable gifting. Like we have had gifts given at like Tour de France, other races.
Well, I mean, Tour of Slovenia, the gift given in a game of rock paper scissors was quite something.
That to be fair, that was quite galling, really. But like the Tour of France, when you had Ineos deciding who was going to win it between Kwiatkowski and Carapaz, like I don't love that. But I feel national championships, it's like, you know, it's just it's more of like who is it. Maybe it should be chosen anyway. Maybe there should be more. It should be more than just a bike race. Like maybe you should have to prove how much you love your country.
I mean, you're going to wear the flag on your back all year. You should, you know, it should be partially a vote.
That's
amongst
my
your fellow
theory.
pros.
Is Luke Plapp likes the new Jayco Alula kit so much he wants to wear that for the season, not the Aussie bands.
There's also, I mean, we on that point with deciding who, you know, it wasn't kind of, I don't know, it wasn't a breakaway situation where there were two riders and they were equally matched, and it was just kind of like, well, let's have a, you know, Vollering versus Kopecky face-off. It was, you know, Durbridge rarely gets a chance to go for glory himself. He's from Perth. He won the road race, the national champs, in 2012? No, 2013. It was 12 years since he'd last won. Yeah. So he hasn't had, you know, he used to be a name that we'd kind of throw around a little bit for the classics, but now he's very much a rouleur. He works for his teammates. And so he may well have been given leadership status and said, we're going to do everything to get this guy to win. And he did spend, 70 kilometres off the front? Yeah. So Luke Plapp would have won if he'd been in a different jersey. But Durbridge was in a team. Probably.
Yeah, probably.
But I mean, Jay Vine was on his wheel when Plapp went. Jai Hindley was, I think, still in that group as well. There was it was a group of hitters. Luke Plapp was obviously on a big day. But yeah, Durbridge. I think, you know, I think it's great. I'm good for
Durbo.
When are we going to, interesting fact about Luke Plapp, his birthday is on Christmas Day, which is super fun. But when are we going to see, you know, more of him? He finished second at the UAE Tour in 2023 behind Evenepoel, ahead of Adam Yates. And he seems, every time he goes to Australia, he just absolutely cleans up. And like, it's not like Australia has no riders, but he goes to like the national championships and acts as if rides as if he's like Tadej Pogacar.
How old is he? He's still
24? Just turned 24.
Still pretty young. Yeah. I mean,
true.
Maybe he'll benefit from having the spotlight. Actually, the spotlight was on Simon Yates last year, wasn't it? I was going to say with Ben O'Connor moving into the team, there'll be another big Australian to take the spotlight away for GC focus. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, if he's still 24, obviously we've got the caveat of the Evenepoels and Pogacars of the world, but he's probably got at least 5 years of good riding in him, and he clearly does have some talent.
I wish I was 24.
Speaking of youngsters, though, what about the elite women kind of letting it go earlier in the day? And Jayco won again, but with the Conti team for Lucinda Stewart, which was
what happened?
A great ride. Well, it was like you were saying earlier, Jonny, about Jayco kind of having to win, but she got into the day's early break, and I think she said, so new course. There was a bit of unfamiliarity, but then basically it seems like this small breakaway, I think it was 4 or 5, they made it all the way. They were given far too much rope, clearly. And I think Lucinda Stewart said that she had hoped that a teammate would jump across, Amber Pate, I think, who did win the sprint from the bunch. Yeah. But that didn't happen. So it was incumbent upon her to win it for Jayco Alula. And she did.
She's on their continental team as well, not the
that's what I said. So she's only just 20. She's only just signed with them as well. And she's not racing any more of the Aussie races. She's going over to Europe to start training camps and that sort of thing. So
decent.
Big win for her.
So obviously I didn't watch this live because it's in the middle of the night.
I think it's impossible as well, but yeah.
Yeah. but I like when you can just look at the result sheet and know that someone messed up big time.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is which is definitely the case. When you've got you know, Amanda Spratt, Sarah Roy, like all the sort of big names starting in 7th. Yeah. Somebody done messed it up.
We should try that as an exercise where someone just has to write a race report from the results sheet and kind of put it all together.
See how close it is?
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah.
Well, this is again, I've talked a number of times about how I wish like TV would go away and we could just write about the Tour de France, for example. Like we were the only ones there, and so we could make things up.
You're sitting in the back of a car with the typewriter.
Yeah, like they used to, and you could just add all sorts of, you know, romantic attacks and things like that. You know, and we could do that if it were just writing off of race results, because that's what they used to do half the time. That's what they used to do half the time.
Yeah.
Speaking of Australians, let's do a brief Caleb Ewan update.
Yeah, what is going on there? It's all a bit mad.
A bit weird.
Curious.
The first inkling that anything was wrong was that his name and like profile on the rider list on the Jayco Alula website was removed, which feels like there's enough people on the internet with enough time on their hands to notice things like that happening. So is this them? Were they trying to like leak and get this news going? Maybe, but then so he didn't line up for any of the nationals, which he usually does. His manager is insistent that Caleb Ewan is not retiring. There was talk of a switch to Astana, which hasn't materialized. That was talking about months ago. But that's
part of the story here. Like the Astana thing is an important part of the story, which is that it sounds like Astana had interest in him via Mark Cavendish.
Yeah.
And Astana needs points, right? They just need points. And so even a Caleb Ewan, who is not maybe what he once was as a professional cyclist, is still a decent sprinter and can go get some points, right?
Yeah.
So that was one of the big reasons why Astana wanted him. And this move was sort of in the works from what we gather. We have a bunch of sources who have sort of spoken on this over the last week, sort of folks that are pretty deep inside the Australian cycling scene that helped us kind of understand what's going on here. So that move was in the works, and because it was in the works, Ewan's existing team, right, has to start to think about, well, how do we replace him, right? Like Copeland is looking at a potential gap in his roster. So they start replacing, they start trying to fill that gap. They start talking to other riders to fill that gap. And then as the Astana thing falls apart, Caleb Ewan is going to go back to his original contract, but there isn't maybe really space there. There's not anything signed because, Copeland wasn't going to sign a new rider until Ewan was actually out the door, but there's maybe some sort of like gentleman's agreement is what we heard. And then there's no space to come back.
But he had a contract for 2025.
Yeah, but this is what I mean is, so Jayco would have started to replace Caleb Ewan.
Oh, right, okay.
Because they thought he was leaving, but then he didn't leave. And so then they essentially have two riders for the same roster slot.
Okay.
Probably not formally, because they wouldn't have signed a new contract with a new rider until Ewan was actually out the door, but they probably got pretty far along in those discussions, because let's not forget here that we're in the middle of January, right? We are in the middle of January, and so like this stuff should have been sorted ages ago. Jayco was probably hoping to fill that last roster slot prior to the new year. Definitely would have already been having those discussions, already have a rider picked out. And then Ewan goes, oh, never mind, I'm not going to Astana. I want my old roster slot back because I have another year on my contract. And what we're hearing, and we haven't had any sort of formal update on this, even though Matt talked to Copeland over the weekend and got basically a no comment. What we're hearing is that, that there's at least the threat or the potential of some legal wranglings to figure this out. Yeah.
Fun. Could it have been Koen Bouwman, formerly of Visma Lease Bike, who took Caleb Ewan's spot? Because I did not know that he had gone to Jayco Alula. That is quite...
No, that's quite old news. That was the end of summer.
But that's one of those riders where
yeah.
I would have spotted him like in February at a Middle Eastern stage race in that kit and been like, what is going on?
No, but anybody they actually signed isn't the one that
no.
I
they
see
would replace Ewan with, right? Like it's some other rider.
So somebody
who is
like
now
Elia
probably
Viviani,
stuck.
who is still without a contract.
Exactly.
I'm caught
Somebody
up now.
like that. So behind the scenes, there's essentially one roster slot at Jayco and two riders who think that they have it.
Got you.
Right? And
confusing.
Astana doing whatever the hell Astana's doing.
So essentially, if Jayco are either going to end up with a very disgruntled Caleb Ewan, or they're going to pay him a bunch of money.
Yeah. I mean, they could potentially pay out his 2025 contract. I mean, like I think to everybody's credit, this seems like it started off pretty amicable. Right?
Well, it was rescue. It was a rescue mission, wasn't it?
Yeah, like Jayco was willing to let him go. Astana was willing to find a spot for him. Like all this was sort of working. And then it was just when the again, this is just our understanding of it. When the Astana move fell apart, then all the things that sort of, it's a domino effect where all these other things that were being put in place also then fell apart. So anyway, as of Monday, that's where we are. It's entirely possible that we're going to get a press release from Jayco sometime soon. Again, we were promised this a couple days ago and we haven't seen anything that is explaining the situation. Again, this I think the fact that we haven't received that does lend some credence to there is some potential if not like actual legal wrangling, some threats of legal wrangling or yeah.
I would imagine they're not going to want to be
complicated.
Yeah, I would imagine they're not going to want to be answering questions about Caleb Ewan when they turn up at the Tour Down Under this weekend.
Yes.
So hopefully we'll hear soon. But legal stuff,
Yeah, we did get in touch with the team.
Yeah.
And that yeah. But we just got no comment. That's all we got out of them. So
quick related aside.
That's the Ewan update.
Quick related aside. Sorry, just you've sent me on a rabbit hole now on Pro Cycling Stacks, looking at things that I'd forgotten about. Guess the team that these three riders are racing for in 2025. Wout Poels, Mike Turnison, Clement Champoussin.
Wout Poels is Astana. What was it with the other next
Mike
one?
Turnison and Clement Champoussin.
Mike Turnison is...
He's Astana too, and so is Clement Champoussin.
What?
It's crazy. This is crazy.
That team is so weird.
It's so crazy.
So didn't we do the math? Did we?
What?
I will put my hand in the air and say I am not an expert in how the UCI does points.
Yeah.
But we keep talking about like bringing riders on to bring their points with them. So by bringing those riders on, their points for 2024 don't increase.
No, I didn't think. I thought it was just for the next one. Like you buy a few riders who you think can just score you points, right? It's not like you transfer.
We need Dane to talk about points.
Yeah, it's crazy. I should spend my own free time looking at the squad list and being bemused, but turns out I did it mid-podcast. But yeah, that was Aussie Corner. Will that get us through to January 2026, do you think? I know we've got the Tour Down
Under next, mate.
We got Tour Down Under coming. So the women's race starts Friday, I believe.
Friday, yeah.
Yeah, depending on who's Friday, though.
I know this because I put it in the TV guide. It's on Australia's Friday. The UK Europe's like just turned from Thursday to Friday, and America's Thursday evening.
Thursday, evening afternoon.
There we go.
So that's when the women's race starts, and then the men's race starts 4 or 5 days later.
Yeah.
And we're going to have Matt Deneef and Dave Rome on the ground in Adelaide. So if you're there, look for them. Get your high five. That's very important. Mm-hmm. And we'll be bringing coverage from the ground there. So I think both those guys are going to be doing segments for the pod. Brief updates on what's going on in Adelaide.
It's the time of year where if you're in UK or Europe, you kind of wake up slightly early and just put like the Tour Down Under on your phone to watch like the last 8K of like a sprint stage, and it's an experience you can only have like once a year that happens. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of a fun way to get you started.
It's the American bike racing experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the Australian bike racing experience.
Yeah. Well, the Australian bike racing experience is watching a bike race till 2:00 in the morning.
Get on the beers. Yeah.
I maintain that the American bike racing experience is the premium bike racing experience because you wake up, make your coffee, and there's like 35K to go.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Perfect.
It's good stuff.
I should say in my part of America.
Yeah.
More westerly. All right. That is enough of Australian Avenue.
Yeah.
Is that what we decided to call it?
Yeah, I couldn't think of another A word.
Okay. Australian Avenue. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back...
Lots of
on
weird
Pidcock.
things.
We have some chaos.
Pidcock's Paddock.
Chaos.
Do you enjoy cycling tech? Assuming the answer is yes, or at least more than Jonny, then you should check out the Geek Warning podcast by Escape Collective. Each week, you'll learn about new tech trends, what Escape's tech staff are thinking about, how to better maintain your bike, and get the most from your equipment. Geek Warning. See you soon.
Welcome back, everybody. We've got some stuff for you. We were trying to come up with a catchy, alliterative off-season...
What about the off-season New Jersey Turnpike?
There we go. So this is a collection of random things, and so it is very off-season-y. Kit, what do we got?
One thing that I was surprised to find myself reading about this weekend was the World Championships, which are due to be held in Rwanda this year. So many months away in September. But the reason it's coming up so soon is that national federations are having to think about it. I mean, obviously they are thinking about it most of the time, but they're having to put rosters together because they have to arrange vaccinations for things like yellow fever, and is it 3 or 4 that they have to get vaccinated against? And Remco Evenepoel has already got it done. He's recovering from his quite nasty crash. He's got it done, so he's there's no risk of any side effects affecting his racing season. Interestingly, he said that he did have some mild side effects for 24 hours, but otherwise absolutely fine. But yeah, so Michael Morkov, who he has recently retired, and he's now the Danish national coach. He's desperate to get Jonas Vingegaard to the Danes' first ever world championship, elite world championships. He's raced under 23 once. He never raced junior, but he's never raced in elite worlds. And he really wants. He thinks so. Michael Morkov thinks that Vingegaard can win the Rainbow Bands in Rwanda. And he really, really wants to get. He wants to have a conversation with him this January to talk to him about vaccinations, get them done so that they're done, and so that he's an option for them.
2 or 3 years ago, this conversation would have felt very different. Jonas Vingegaard has to be talked about his vaccines. I've just googled it, and you need to go. All the courses or boosters usually advised for Rwanda are hepatitis A and tetanus. But then other vaccines to consider include yellow fever, typhoid, rabies, meningitis, hepatitis B, lots of stuff.
Yeah. So they want to. They're talking about rosters now because they're aware that riders won't want to do it between the Dauphiné and the Tour de France. Partly for all sorts of reasons.
Can I say something purposefully inflammatory?
Yeah, I'm scared now.
Why does Jonas Vingegaard hate pro cycling and the history of pro cycling
and the World Championships?
In the World Championships.
Why does he hate Denmark? That's more inflammatory.
Yeah. Why does he not want to represent his country at the World Championships?
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny.
I think it's because he builds up to the Tour de France, does all that, and I think it takes everything out of him to compete in the Tour. And after that, he's just like, you know what? I'm done.
What's interesting is that to go back to One Cycling that we were talking about last week, he's kind of the anti-One Cycling rider, and yet his team boss is really pushing for it, which is curious.
That's a good little spin zone, that.
Yeah,
but I feel like there's a good chance that he will get the vaccinations, but there's absolutely no chance he'll go to the World Championships. That's my thought.
I do feel like Jonas Vingegaard is somewhat of a worldly man with an interest in the world outside of professional cycling. So I would also think that he maybe wanted to see Rwanda. A lot of cyclists often go to World Championships or go to races with an interest to view a new place for free because they're getting driven around and often paid to be there. I would go in the other camp just to be contrarian.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean,
I would like to see him there, but I don't think he'll go. But anyway, yeah.
I was saying that purely to have a small discussion.
It was good.
But the point underlying that is it's unfortunate that he hasn't raced a Worlds yet, right? It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to do one-day races. And again, this is just, okay, do the Tour de France. But
yeah,
he when I was looking at his Palmeiras this weekend, he has won a one-day race, and I was expecting it to be in 2019 or something, but it's the Drum Classic in 2022, which feels a lot more recent than it actually is.
Really?
Thinking about it, but still, so he does have some form in that. But then I suppose we're going back to 2022 when he was still whippersnapper who hadn't won a Tour de France yet, and he probably had less control over his calendar. So
second place,
he's had a bunch of kids in the past couple of years. So maybe we'll see him racing more. In the coming years, and a really bad injury last year. So
yeah, when's it gonna?
Maybe he'll do more.
When's it gonna switch to Jonas Vingegaard being like, "Oh, I miss my family so much. I need them with me." To being like, you know what? I just need a break. Just give me a Tirreno Adriatico.
I'll do opening weekend.
Yeah. Second place on that Drôme Classic day that he won by 3 seconds was Guillaume Martin. Which must be the closest that Guillaume Martin has or maybe will ever come to finishing behind Jonas Vingegaard again. Do we think is that cruel to say for our philosopher?
Well, who
friend?
knows? He's going to pastures new.
Oh yeah, he is
maybe he'll be rejuvenated by Marc Madiot.
He maybe it was. I hope what he's got out of his system, whatever it was that was getting him to sound off on his bike sponsor directly after the Tour de France, talking about how heavy the bikes were. Just an absolutely insane move to crush any sort of, goodwill as you go out the door.
He should have gone to Decathlon. He should have gone to the other French World Tour team because then he would win something.
So true.
based on their form.
Shall I just rattle through these other couple of quick news hits before
Yeah,
we
we
get
got a couple other news hits.
Pidcock Paddock.
Pidcock.
Paddock.
Mark Padun, former Bahrain EF rider, Ukrainian, has retired at the age of 28. You might remember him from winning those 2 stages of the Dauphiné, one after the other, in quite celebratory manner. There was a lot of chat about him at the time. He really lit the switchboard up. There's also he's had a lot of injuries and I think maybe other issues. So he's retired at 28. I would, not weirdly, last year we put down on a big ideas list finding out what happened to him. And now I would say that finding out what his story is, what happened to him, is even more of an enticing prospect. There's not much more info than that I can see at the minute.
He's got a lot of family who are caught up in the Ukraine situation.
Yes,
isn't he?
Which
so
I
can imagine it's been a rough few years for him.
Yeah, it probably puts professional cycling into its appropriate context. But an interesting story, no doubt. Like, he managed to cram a lot of stuff and narrative into a few years. The other quick little hit is that Richard Carapaz is on his way to the Giro, which means that the Giro is shaping up to be fairly interesting, even at this early stage. We've got Primoz Roglic there, Jai Hindley, Wout van Aert, Adam Yates, Juan Ayuso, David Gaudu, Mikel Landa will be leading Soudal Quickstep, Danny Martinez, and of course Nairo Man will be there.
Of course.
Obviously.
Of course. But that sounds kind of exciting.
Do you know what it sounds like? 2015.
You know, what was wrong with 2015? I wouldn't mind giving 2015 another crack. I feel like I left a lot on the table in 2015. So if that's
going to be a good Giro. It's going to be a really good Giro.
Oh, speaking of which, the Giro route is announced later today.
Yes, it is.
In like an hour.
Finally, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
So we'll talk about that on Friday, in the next show.
Oh, we haven't mentioned that yet.
Oh, yeah, well, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
We'll get to that later in the show.
Yeah. So you may have noticed that this show is shown up early, 2 days early.
Oh.
We're going to have another one on Friday.
Yeah, we'll talk more about this in After Dark, I think.
Yeah, we'll explain more in After Dark.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look up flights to Albania for the Giro start, and it costs about 30 quid to get there. So I might just go. I mean, it cost me less to get there than get to London, so
yeah,
might have no option but to check out what Albania's like. The main part of this section, Caley, I'm going to hand back to you. Tom Pidcock, he's back in the news.
Well, he's not going to Tour de France, which I like the BBC headline.
Yes, so
love it.
Made it sound like something horrible is happening, and
he decided.
Yeah, Tom Pidcock not going to the Tour de France 2025 because, of course, as we mentioned before, his team's not going to get an invite. They would be lucky to get a Giro or Vuelta invite. Vuelta seems more likely of the two. Although with Pidcock on, I mean, yeah.
I think they're going to get hopeful soon. Of a Giro or Vuelta invite.
Yeah, and the Dane spoke with Doug Ryder over the weekend, the GM of that team, and it does sound like the real focus early on is going to be 1 days. So that makes sense, right? Pidcock is good at those. He's always sort of been nearly there in Grand Tours, but he's won some big stuff on the 1 day. So that is the focus early on, and it's a building thing. Like the quotes that came out of there's a round table at the sort of media days with Q36.5 over the weekend, and so Pidcock has sort of spoken about his upcoming season and all the things that he's looking to do and whatever else. And yeah, it's what we presumed, right? It's a project with him at the top of it that he seems to have some sort of measure of control over and do the things that he wants to do. And I think it makes some sense for him at this team. I mean, there's been a fair amount of chatter about it's a shame that he's gone down to second division, whatever else. But I think it makes a ton of sense. Again, it's sort of like the Van der Poel model of this is his team now.
Yeah,
that it's easier to bend Q36.5 to your will than Ineos, clearly.
Oh yeah. I liked the very media savvy, scripted quotes that he gave to BBC Sport. I mean, he's a very media savvy guy, but I do believe that he is quite relishing the chance to skip a Tour de France, because I think he probably, at least based on, maybe there was a team dynamic thing and he didn't, if he went with Q36.5, he would have utter freedom. But I get the impression that actually he would quite like a bit of a refresher and just kind of throw himself all in to one days and stage races.
Short
stage races.
So from the round table, the quotes that I found the most interesting was when he said, at the end of the day, what happened with me and Ineos was business. It was nothing personal. He has lots of great memories there. But then this part, and I'll read the quote. He goes, I signed my contract with different people who run the team now, and that did create some difficulties from what I imagined it was going to be like to what happened. But they still gave me every support. So he's basically saying there is that I signed up with Brailsford and, a bit of Ellingworth and into that system. But then suddenly, Manchester United come along, still my boss, who I sort of envisaged my career developing with. And now it's these bunch of other people who wasn't the same vibe. So, if only they'd come out with that maybe like 4 months ago, they could have avoided a lot of headlines, but it probably worked in their favour. But the best part of this interview was reported on Twitter by Chris Marshall-Bell, our friend. And that comes at the end of the roundtable with Pidcock. Tom Pidcock asks Daniel Benson, our other friend, very good reporter, he asks him, are you Daniel Benson? Daniel Benson, fairly taken aback, confirmed that he was indeed Daniel Benson. And Pidcock goes, chapeau to the information you get. You knew I'd signed my contract with Q36.5 3 hours before I had signed it. So he can predict the future, Dan Benson.
That's no surprise though, no?
Well, I knew he was good. I didn't know he was that good. I mean, that's insane. But yeah, Tom Pidcock will get back to Tour de France next year, maybe even because, according to the Spanish newspaper Marca, is it Marca or Marca? Marca, thank you. They're pushing for more pro teams to get given wildcards.
You mean 2026?
2026, sorry, what did I say, 2025?
Yeah. Well, you just said next year.
Next year.
Which I guess is next 2026, aren't it?
Yeah.
Crap, it's 2025 already.
Damn. But yeah, so they're basically, like a lot of the time, if you open up one more wildcard spot, Q36.5 would be the team that would get it. So yeah, there we go. Pidcock Paddock, back open for business.
He's also got a new job title.
Does he? What is it?
Yeah, research scientist.
What's he? What?
So
Explain.
Part of the Q36.5 news over the weekend was the launch of their new kit.
Yeah.
And as everyone's aware, most people are aware, the eponymous apparel brand Q36.5. It's all about proprietary kit development and what have you.
Okay.
And so they've decided to call the riders research scientists, and they've even got that phrasing emblazoned on their bottoms on their shorts. So we'll get to see it all the time, which is great.
Oh, they do.
Like right in the butt?
Oh my God, they do. Yeah, below Q36.5, it says research site, and then it says on the gloves as well around the wrist.
Yeah, so they basically have name badges, for first day at work. They are research scientists. Tom Pidcock.
Those gloves, you're right, are very much like Spider-Man gloves, but like ice version of Spider-Man, ice flavor Spider-Man,
ice flavored.
This team is gonna give us so much this year.
Yeah,
yes.
I would just like to.
I would
like to thank Q36.5. I'd like to thank Tom.
It says it on their hats as well. I've just got another angle.
Yeah.
In After Dark, should we go through some of the team kits and
yes, I think we should.
speak freely?
Yeah, we should.
We should. No, we should. Great.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on from Pidcock's paddock. Tom Dumoulin ran another half marathon. He's a fast runner. This is not surprising.
Yeah.
Engines are engines.
Well, Dumoulin has previous, after he retired from cycling, he ran the Amsterdam Half Marathon in October 2023 in an hour, 10 minutes, 4 seconds, but he did the Egmond Half Marathon. Don't know what an Egmond is, but it sounds fun, which he ran in 1 hour, 8 minutes and 45 seconds. So he shaved off a minute and a half, nearly 1 minute, 20 seconds. But an already fast time. Turns out that professional cyclists are insane athletes across the board. Who'd have thought? Yeah, I mean, who's got the fastest half? Who are the other runners? Tom Pidcock did a fast 5K, right?
The fastest half marathon, I just Googled this. I'm not a runner. The fastest half marathon is 58 minutes. So he's only 10 minutes off the fastest half marathon.
That's crazy.
I just
Googled
very, very good, what is a good half marathon time. It says 1 hour 50.
Jeez.
Wow.
Which, that's for regular people, right? That's
okay.
Nicely done, Tom Dumoulin.
Trying to find other cyclists who ran half marathons. Do you remember Cameron Worth, who ran a half marathon after finishing Paris-Roubaix in 2023?
Mm-hmm.
He ran it in 1 hour and 26 minutes. Which
He's a triathlon man.
Seems pretty good. After Paris-Roubaix, he ran a half marathon. We did not give that enough credit at the time.
There was I think it was Ben King, who's now retired, but he just off the couch, like someone dared him to do it. He just off the couch ran an entire marathon.
Really?
And ran like a right around 3 hour entire marathon, which is quite quick.
Oh,
and I'm assuming didn't walk for
a
week and a half afterward. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh yeah, 3 hours. Yeah, just for fun.
Let's
Run.com wrote about it. Wow.
Turns out large aerobic engine
translates
applicable to other things. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Has Peter Sagan been running, Kit?
No, he's not been running, but I figured that in retirement corner. Peter Sagan.
Retirement roundabout.
Retirement. I was waiting for something to come up.
Rotunda.
Retirement running away from something.
Yeah, running away from real life. Peter Sagan is certainly continuing to do that. I mean, he technically only really retired last year because he raced for that sandwich team.
A much better name than Pierre Baguette Cycling. Not.
If you just drop that phrase into like 2014, people would be really shocked at where Peter Sagan ended
the
up.
lineup of this year's Giro would just be so confused.
But anyway, so Peter Sagan has tried his hand at crypto reality shows and charity fundraisers and that sort of thing. His next outing in the public eye, his next installment on the Minor Celebrity Tour, is he's going to be in the Slovakian version of Let's Dance, which my understanding is it's something like a Dancing with the Stars or Strictly sort of show. And he announced it on Instagram with some, I don't know, hyperbolic quotes about loving theatre and dance and not being ready, but then being ready, and then I hope we get to see some videos of Peter Sagan trying to be flexible on the dance floor.
His quote from the press release is, "I plan to enjoy it and put on a big show." So I am both nervous and excited.
Always a showman. Peter Sagan
do you think?
was.
I mean, cyclists are not the most. I don't know. I don't feel they're not the most kind of elegant of human beings.
You've seen a lot of riders dancing.
I've seen a lot of riders dancing over the years. Over 14 Tours de France covered, probably 7 to 10 times in various Parisian nightclubs. Afterward, I've seen some dancing. I have never seen Peter Sagan dance thoh.
No.
So are they coordinated these cyclists? No, I didn't think so.
No, they're also, they get drunk very quickly.
I don't think that's going to be encouraged on
things
national
go kind
TV.
of sideways.
Do you think after his dance, when the dancers are asked for like their thoughts in the afternoon and they're getting judged by the judge, do you think he's gonna say dance was dance? Dance was dance.
Will he have some 100% skiing goggles around his neck when he gives the interviews?
Yes, need it. How many of the dancers will be bike themed?
I want him to come back.
We need him in some capacity.
What we need is just who's well, here's a good question. Who's the next coming of Peter Sagan? Either sort of like spiritually, personality wise, or as a bike racer.
Yeah, it's got to be Pogacar, doesn't it?
I think it's Pogacar.
Yeah, yes and no.
Not in the same way though. He's not.
But I think
Pogacar's a lot more aware.
Yes, and I think that they all are though. That's the trouble.
Yeah, apparently a lot of Sagan's sort of persona was actually sort of a creation of his I believe now ex-wife, the mother of his at least one child. She was the one that put together like the Grease video and a bunch of other things that like she kind of helped shape who he was. The sort of leather jackets wearing, long hair, Peter Sagan that a lot of people know. And every time I've interacted with him, I got the impression that he was very quiet, very shy, and didn't really want to talk to anybody. And then he had this sort of big persona that had been built, and then obviously it sort of backed up with the way that he raced. But that's actually quite common, I think, that a rider who's very sort of extravagant while racing is actually quite the opposite outside of that scenario.
It's the same with a lot of us, though, right? I think we are different people with different groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and they don't become cyclists, I would imagine, to become internet personalities.
Yeah, or by being the life of a party. No.
And you can do some very simple things as a professional cyclist to make yourself, to kind of ingratiate yourself to the fandom, right?
Yeah, it's not hard.
You just do some wheelies.
Yeah,
you do some wheelies, and then you're good to go. Like, that's pretty much all you got to do.
Or if you're Esteban Chavez, you just smile, and then they're all like, "Oh, it's Chavez."
And he looks adorable.
Mikel Landa got dropped like one time and looked at the camera, and then he got a whole thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you just got to pick your thing. It's got to pick your thing.
Love it.
All right. Well, Peter Sagan will be on a dance show. That'll be fun. And we will keep you updated, obviously.
One more thing, which we'll cut this little bit in half, and we'll continue the actual explanation in After Dark as a little tease. Shall I just show you what arrived in the post for me over the weekend? Are you ready? I'm going to show you on video.
Oh,
amazing.
If you want
you got
to
your
find...
Remco stickers.
I wasn't going to say it out loud. I was going to let them all... Wait.
Well, they can't see, Johnny.
No.
The audience can't see.
And they probably, I imagine, that it's not as exciting enough people to actually sign up to find out what I got in the post. But yes, the Remco stickers. The Remco stickers have arrived.
Did a member send them over?
Yes. These were from Gravel Ride 13 on Instagram. So thank you very much, Gravel Ride. At no point did I actually... Oh, Fred. Sorry. Fred, who is Gravel Ride 13 on Instagram.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Fred.
We appreciate you.
But yeah, I've got a couple questions about these, which I want to ask you too.
Okay. Let's head into After Dark. Of course, After Dark is available to members only. So you'll need to sign up. Head over to escapecollective.com/members and get yourself the members only feed. Very important. Mm-hmm. Thanks everybody for the support. Thanks for listening. So if you're on the free feed, we'll be back on Friday in some capacity. And then the following Monday, and then the following Friday, and then the following Monday, and the following Friday. Off into
and then it'll be bike race time.
Then it'll be bike race time. If you're a member, stick around. We're headed into After Dark. Bye-bye.
Oh, hi. Dave Rome here. If you're hearing this, then you're on the free feed of the Escape Collective podcast network. We're happy you're here, and we'll continue to give plenty of expert opinion and analysis away for free. But really, our best stuff is saved for members of Escape Collective. After all, with no advertising or affiliate links, it's our members who make this all possible. From in-depth interviews with leading experts to class-leading reviews, through to unique things like my threaded series for anyone spinning spanners of any level. That's the sort of content you'll get by becoming a member. And as an added bonus, you won't have to listen to ads like this again. Head to escapecollective.com/join to sign up.